Hey everyone, Brittany Lynch here, and I wanted to put together a little bit of a case study or tutorial on how to create the perfect sales webinar. Over the course of the last several months, I've received dozens of emails asking about information on how to structure a sales webinar. So I wanted to kind of go over this. Sales webinars for me have been the best method for selling online. I've done over, several $1 million in sales using webinars. So I really kind of developed a system for what works and what doesn't work. And this works in, dozens of different niches. The formula is the exact same. It doesn't matter whether you're in the internet marketing niche or the weight loss or whatever it happens to be, the formula is going to be very similar. So hopefully you're going to find this helpful. I'm going to start by kind of going over how I broke it down, and I'm using a mind mapping program to put this together. I find mind mapping really helpful for laying out complex topics and just making it a little simpler. So it starts with, let's see, we've got the introduction section, the content section, transition section, and the close section. So when you look at building out a webinar really can be broken down into four main sections: the introduction, content, transition, and close. All right. Now, when I'm approaching a webinar, building out a webinar, I generally start by working on the close. So the close is the bullet points. So it's actually the deliverable of the product. So what is a person going to get when they purchase your product? So when I start with structuring my sales webinar, I'll sit down and I'll look at the product that I have and I'll start breaking down bullet points on what the person will actually get. Is it a 6-week live training? What happens in week 1? Topic 1, topic 2, topic 3, topic 4. Do they get PDFs? Do they get worksheets? Do they get mind maps? So I'll really go through progressively and look at the entire course and break it down into either modules, if it's like a finished course already, or an ebook. And then if it's a live training, break it down into like week 1, week 2, week 3, and then break out sales bullet points from there. Now I like to work backwards because while the close is the most important part, the second, or I'd say tied for most important, would be the content section. All right. So the content of the sales webinar, I think this is so important. And if you've ever been on a webinar by me before, you'll know that I really spend a lot of time delivering content. And this is counterintuitive to what a lot of people think about sales webinars. They think it's just a pitch. But for me, I really think building value, demonstrating that you can provide value to your prospective buyers is very important when it comes to making that sale, because it allows them to get a glimpse into your teaching style and decide whether they trust you or not. So when I'm forming a webinar, the content section is really dictated by what is in the close section. So what do I mean by that? Let me actually go ahead and open up the content section here. So I've got a number of different bullets here. So content is created out of product deliverables. So let me give you an example. Let's say that I am going to sell a product on losing weight, okay? And in module 1, it's about, I've got a 7-step process for identifying my weight loss goals. So if that's one of the things I'm selling in the close, in the actual deliverable, then I would want to create a content slide on maybe 2 of the 7 steps for creating that, identifying my weight loss goals. So I always like to what I call seed plant ideas early on in the content. So if I have a deliverable in the close that's 7 steps for choosing your ideal weight loss goal, then I would actually give away some of that content, maybe 1 or 2 steps. Now, the reason I do that is because A, it's good value, good content to give, to kind of preview the course to the customer. But it also creates what I call an open loop in the customer's mind, all right? So they're thinking, wow, this is really good content. I love these 2 pieces of advice. I wish I had the other 5. So if they like the first 2, naturally in their head, they're already thinking, I wish I had all 7 because the first 2 were so good. And so that's how I break out my content. I really just look at the close and then I work backwards. So maybe 7 steps to choosing your weight loss goals is in week 1, module 1. In week 2, module 2, it's a 30-day plan for losing 30 pounds. I completely made that up. That probably isn't healthy. But let's just say that's what it is. Maybe it's a 30-day plan for losing 10 pounds. So maybe the next piece of content I would do is a glimpse into the first week of a 30-day weight loss plan that's going to help you lose 10 pounds or 20 pounds or whatever that number is. All right, so again, I'm just giving them a preview of the content, and what this does is build good trust with the audience. They're really feeling like they're getting good content. So good content is very, very important to keep your customers and your prospects happy, and it's also a great way to get them excited and sell without them realizing that you're selling, so that when you get to the close, that part of the job's already done for you. They've already said in their head, yeah, I want that 7-step worksheet, and I would love a 30-day plan. So hopefully you see what I'm saying there. It's really important to start backwards. So you start by focusing on the close, the bullet points that are actually in the webinar content, or in the product content, I should say, breaking out what's in the product content, and then go back and you create the content structure of your webinar based on what you're actually selling in the program. So that makes it really, really easy to actually build out the building blocks of this webinar. So creating a really good sales webinar isn't difficult, okay? You start backwards at the close, then I work myself away to the content. Like I said, content is created out of the product deliverables. I like to seed plan ideas, or another way I put it is create open loops. So as an example, I gave 2 examples already. I make them aware that I have a 7-step plan for identifying my goal. I make them aware that I have a 30-day, 30 days to lose 10 pounds kind of blueprint. So I make them aware of that, and I give them a bit of content so that they realize what great content, what great value you have to offer. Now, the next thing that's really important, and this is probably the thing that most marketers really miss out on, is dramatic demonstration, all right? So what do I mean by that? If you've been on a webinar with me before, you know that my webinars are very, very interactive, and I really don't have a lot of slides, okay? Probably have 5 slides throughout the content portion of an entire webinar on a high end. Why is that? It's because I'm actually doing dramatic demonstrations. So instead of talking about, how to create a Facebook ad campaign and giving a boring slide on, 3 steps for creating a Facebook ad campaign, I'll actually go into my Facebook ad editor and give a dramatic demonstration of how to do that. Or another example is, a few weeks ago, I gave away a Pinterest tool to you guys, and the Pinterest tool, what it did was it sorted the highest or the most repinned Pinterest posts from the highest repinned to the lowest repinned. So I might go into Pinterest and give a dramatic demonstration of how I manually look for t-shirt ideas on Pinterest, and how I look for the Pinterest pins that have the most number of repins or most number of likes. And then after I show them the manual way, I'll say, well, if you want to do it a little faster, here's my Pinterest tool, and I pull up the Pinterest tool and I show them with a click of the button. So it's all demonstration. It's not just on slides, and that really makes it way more effective, because seeing really is believing. And I want to play the start of a really quick YouTube video by Billy Mays, who's a very famous infomercial guy who really made dramatic demonstration famous. So let's just play the first 20 seconds of this or so.
Hi, Billy Mays here for the original Quick Chop. The fastest, easiest, safest way to chop, mince, or dice any vegetable, guaranteed. Here's how it works. Just place the vegetable on the board, give it a tap, and you've got finely shredded cabbage in seconds for crunchy coleslaw. If you like salads, put all your ingredients in at the same time. Chicken salad, ham salad, even shrimp salad is all done with just a few taps. It has the power to chop nuts, almonds, walnuts, pecans. Use them for toppings for ice cream sundaes. Quick Chop even has the muscle to crush ice.
So a few things I kind of want to bring to your attention for this video. Billy Mays isn't just showing one use for the product. He showed salads, he showed ice cream, pecans, all sorts of different things or uses the product may have. Now, this is kind of an easy example because it's a physical product. Many of you, when you're using webinars to sell, are going to be selling information marketing products. So you really kind of have to think outside of the box of how can you create a dramatic demonstration. Maybe you have a math formula, and instead of just telling them the answer. You'll pull up a text edit sheet or a Word document and break it out and work through the math formula with them. So there's a lot of different ways to transition information products or webinars into dramatic demonstration. May not be as dramatic as this, but you want to think about how can I just give a demonstration, worry about making it dramatic later. How can I just give a demonstration rather than just speaking off my slides? Because the more you can engage with your audience, the more attention they're going to be paying, and the more likely they already have an interest to pique their interest in actually purchasing your product. All right, so that's really important in the content section. So content, it is content from the perspective of the prospect on the webinar. They're getting a lot of content out of it. But from the perspective of a marketer, it is just another tool to sell, all right? So the content section is a way for you to pique interest in your product. One of the other things that I'm going to touch on today are trial closes. So as you're going through your webinar, you kind of just want to touch base with your audience. For example, are you guys enjoying this mind map so far? Are you getting good value out of how to create the perfect sales webinar? And then you look to your audience to, let you know that, yeah, they are getting value. So you're just asking them to agree with you. Are you enjoying this? Is this something that, you've gotten value out of? Would this be helpful to you? Can you see where you might use this in your day-to-day life? So you're just getting them to envision themselves using this system, all right? So that's kind of how I break out my content section, and I'll include a link to this mind map below the video. I kind of just wanted to give you an overview of my system today. Now, let's go to transitions. Often when people are creating a webinar, they find it really uncomfortable to sell, all right? That's the hardest part for them, is the selling aspect. So they do a great job delivering content, but then when it gets to the close, they get all awkward. They don't really know how to approach it. They feel embarrassed that they're asking for the sale. So the most important thing is, A, make sure you're selling a product you really do believe in, because you cannot do a webinar and you shouldn't be selling if it's a product that you don't believe in. Your audience is going to pick up right away when your tone of voice changes, and they'll know, does this person not believe in their product? Why do they sound so nervous now? And that's going to make them nervous, all right? So the best way that I know for transitioning between content into the close is just simply asking them, hey guys, have you enjoyed today's webinar? Yes? All right, great. How many of you would like to insert benefit? So whatever the hook for your product is, maybe it's how many of you would like to look over my shoulders as I make $10,000 in the next 30 days? Or how many of you would like to look over my shoulders as I begin my weight loss journey and lose 20 pounds in the next 30 days and show you exactly how you can too, all right? So your product should have some sort of really simple hook. You could call it an elevator pitch if you want, but you want to sum up the theme of your product really, really, really easily like that, all right? That's going to capture their attention. So the best way that I know to transition from the content to the close is just come out and asking them, did you guys enjoy this? How many of you would like to insert whatever the title of your product is or whatever the problem it's solving is? And just say, all right, great. What I've done is I've created a product, it's called insert title name, and this is what you're gonna get. And that is really what I find the easiest, most straightforward method, the methods that's not gonna make you nervous, not gonna make you intimidated about going into close, and is the most transparent for your audience. That way you're not feeling uncomfortable about what you're doing, and it's just kind of a seamless transition. So the transition is an area a lot of people mess up, but it's actually really easy to handle, all right? And I left the introduction for last, even though it's technically the first thing in the webinar, because it's the most straightforward. I usually do the introduction as the very last section when I'm scripting a webinar, starting with the close first, then going to the content, then going to the transition, finally going back to the introduction. Very simple. Introduction shouldn't take longer than 5 minutes. So you just want to introduce the webinar pitch hook. So you kind of had two hooks in this situation. The hook for your sales webinar, so what's going to get them excited to get on the webinar in the first place, and then the hook for your product, all right? So you want to introduce the webinar pitch hook, so whatever it is that you're doing a dramatic demonstration on, whatever you're doing your content on. Briefly introduce yourself and your results with that system. I think a lot of marketers spend way too much time on this, and they spend like 15 minutes going on about their results and their family and how much they love their family and all these things. And that is good. It's nice to kind of understand who it is that you're talking to, or sorry, who it is that you're listening to. But it comes to a point where it's like, all right, great, let's get on to the reason why I'm here, which is to learn what your system is. I don't need to know where you went to university necessarily, all right? So keep that brief, to the point, highlight just, really, really top level stuff, and then transition into content. All right, so okay, are you guys ready to get going? Let's go ahead and dive in. So just keep it bang, bang, bang. Introduction shouldn't be longer than about five to 7 minutes. Content should be about 40 minutes or so. Transition, is pretty quick. I'm going to say not longer than 5 minutes, but it'll probably just be literally 30 seconds as you ask them those 2 sentences I talked about. And then you get into the close, which might take about 30 minutes or so. So good sales webinars anywhere from 60 to 90 minutes long. And let's go on down to the close. I want to break the close down a little bit, all right? So in the close, what's going to happen is you're going to start by introducing the offer. So for example, high-level stuff. All right, what I did was I created this product. The product name is 30 Days to a Fit You. I just made that up. And you're going to get 4 weeks of live training, you're going to get PDFs and transcripts, and it's all going to be risk-free. All right, so just the high level, what are the deliverables? Then explain what they get. You might have a few slides on each module. So if you've got 6 modules, you'd have 6 slides, module 1 through 6, and it would break it down further into those bullet points a little bit more, all right? So you introduce the offer, then you go into a bit more detail, explain what they get, reveal the price, all right? This is where you actually reveal the price. So for example, it's $47. Now, you want to compare the value. So for example, you could be spending $67 every single month going to the gym. Let's be honest, how often do you actually make it to the gym? So $47 is a bargain. So you really just want to anchor the price to something else that's a bit more expensive and show how they're actually saving money or getting more value by investing in your product. From there, you don't actually give them the sales link yet. I usually give the sales link after I introduce my bonuses. So I add bonuses, maybe anywhere from 1 to 5 bonuses. I go over each bonus, why they're getting it, how it's going to help complement the system. From there, I then guarantee the offer. So usually I do a full 30-day money-back guarantee in order to help them minimize the risk and feel like they're, safe in investing with you. And that's where I give them the link. I say, all right, here's the link. You can go here and buy now. Then from there, I transition into highlighting scarcity. So I don't believe in fake scarcity. One of the best ways to create real scarcity is by creating scarcity with the bonuses. So taking bonuses away from them based on, whether the first 1 to 50 people who sign up, first 50 to 100, and so on and so forth. And then finally, question and answer. So the question and answer period is actually a period that's used to help you get additional sales. So you want to look for questions about your system, questions about your product, and use that as a way to overcome objections and to continue to sell the product and demonstrate value of the product, all right? So that's kind of a really breezy overview of the close, but the formula that I use. Again, I'm going to give you a link to this mind map so that if you are someone who is structuring out a sales webinar, hopefully you'll find this helpful. And this structure can really be used whether it's a sales webinar or a sales video or even sales copy. The approach and the method that I use to write really any sales copy is really the same. I start with the close, then I go back to the quote-unquote content, then I go to the transition, and then I go to the introduction, all right? So it's really kind of just an overview of how to sell, period. But, I specifically use it for webinars. I use it for video sales letters as well as long-form sales copy. It's just that I tend to use sales webinars as the #1 tool that I use to actually sell online, all right? And then just a few kind of additional notes here that I'll go over is you want to make sure you keep your pace fast. Now, some people say I talk too fast. You can agree or disagree with that, but at the very least, I'm not boring. I don't think many people are going to say my webinars are boring because I keep the pace fast. I keep my energy high. But really important is I sound natural, or at least I aim to sound natural, and that's because I genuinely believe in what it is that I'm teaching. I believe in what it is I'm selling, and people can hear that, all right? So you need to kind of look to yourself and see where you sound the most natural, because a system and a pace and a tone of voice that may work for me might not work for someone else because it might not be natural to them. All right, so you really want to keep that in mind and keep in mind what sounds natural to you. And again, I think this is where marketers run into problems is they have a copywriter write their sales pitch or their webinar or their video sales script, but the copywriter doesn't keep in mind what their natural tone is or what their disposition is or whether that sales pitch is right for them. Okay, so just something to keep in mind. Different pitches are right for different people. Keep confidence and energy up as you transition to the close. And this is something I touched on earlier, but as you're going from content to the actual sales pitch, people tend to kind of like drop their voice a little, get a little nervous, and people can hear that. And they automatically think, is this person nervous about the product? Are they embarrassed to be selling this? Now they're nervous about investing with you. So that's really important. If you have a product you believe in, just spend some time thinking about why did you put that product together? Is it because it really helps solve a problem? Do you really think it's delivering value? And really just think about how you can help people with your product. And that should really kind of help you with the confidence of going into the close. I know some people don't like to sell, but that's why I like that transition of just addressing it off the bat. Look, guys, I put together a product, and here it is. All right, so people can get off the webinar or can leave the sales video if they don't want to know more about it. Okay, so be confident with your offer. So those are some of the additional notes. So hopefully you found this helpful. It's not a really long, in-depth video on creating the perfect sales webinar, but it's kind of what you need to get started. Again, whether it's a sales webinar or even a sales video or long-form copy, I find that this formula has worked the best for me. I typically have the best converting webinars out there according to my joint venture partners. And again, this is a formula that works in multiple niches, not just internet marketing. So it's pretty straightforward to put together. I find breaking it down into building blocks makes it so much easier and more approachable to actually structure out. Again, starting with that close, breaking down the bullet points in each module, then from there going back to the content, seed planting ideas, creating open loops, thinking about where you can do a dramatic demonstration or just some demonstration in general to get you away from the slides and get you kind of more interactive with the audience. That's really going to keep the engagement up high and keep everyone really excited about what you have to teach. Transition and the introduction. All right. So again, hopefully you found this helpful. I'll include a link to the mind map for those who want to kind of delve into this a little deeper below this video. And take care and have a really great day. Thanks, guys.